really sweet and there's some weird sugar substitute in there.
Well,
what is the point?
What bugs me is stuff that I really enjoyed before has gotten sweeter. Like, do you know, Honest Tea? It used to have like 15 grams or 13 to 15 grams of sugar per bottle, and now they're up to like 27, 25.
You know what?
It's like too sweet for me.
Has ruined everything for me. Where do I start? But I'll start with Trident Gum. Trident Gum used to be sugar-free, and I really like their bubblegum flavor and shoot it all the time. Now there's aspartame in it. Didn't used to be. I happen to be allergic to aspartame. It gives me a headache. And it's like all gum has aspartame in it now, so I just like never chew gum anymore. I'm sure there's gum that doesn't have aspartame, but then it's like Big Red or something that actually has a lot of sugar and is bad for your teeth. I don't know. I can't.
I would rather not have any sweetener at all, rather than like
me either.
Like any kind of substitute. Even stevia tastes kind of weird to me. It tastes like mouthwash.
Well,
reminds me of mouthwash, I should say.
What's going on with this hemp duo? Makes you crave mouthwash? Is that what you're saying?
Nah, it's just like when I use mouthwash, all I want to do with like a soda or a beverage that has it is just rinse out my mouth.
Also, they have not proofed their copy. There are apostrophes where there should not be.
But it's hemp.
It's hemp. Official drink of Nick Diaz. Someone tell me who that is.
All right. N-I-K or N-I-C-K? D-I?
N-I-C-K, yeah.
I think it's like a Vine.
MMA.
Oh, no, he is a UFC guy. You're right.
Yeah.
Look. Like
there he is. Professional mixed martial artist who is currently signed with the Ultimate Fighting Championship League.
Drinking some hemp. Nick, you can have mine.
He has a flat nose, probably broken.
Oh, God. Nope. Why did I do that? Gosh.
All right, you guys. I reordered everything. And Roger, you'll need to know this most of all because your tabs will be out of order. But Sarah, you have an extra quick hit now. I'm reading Magic Leap. Everything else is the same, but it's in a slightly different order.
No problem.
All right. So what is the order now?
And that was to accommodate the Twitter thing.
So where's the
bridge now that it sort of shows? Well, anyway.
Netflix now streaming HDR on Windows 10. I'm ripping up the line. No, I'm just kidding.
Start over.
Walmart developing personal shopping services. Why is that in a tech news?
Fresh tab.
Niantic.
What?
Niantic. A big.
Oh, where's Pokemon Go?
Thank you. At least there's one other Pixies fan of the audience.
Oh, is there the iPhone battery is good? Oh, they're last, so that goes after Movie Pass.
Yeah.
You ever have one of those days when you're like, when I get all my stuff done, which will probably be 7 p.m., I'm going to bed.
Yeah. No, totally.
I'm just like, I don't even want dinner. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I definitely have those days.
Lights out. That's what I'm doing.
Remember when you want to do nothing but like just hang out right after work until like 1 o'clock in the morning?
Nope. I mean, yeah, I remember that.
I remember being
Roger,
like,
I'm waiting on you to tell me you're ready because I know you had the most.
I think I have everything in order.
Okay. The rest of y'all ready?
I'm ready.
I've never been more ready in my life.
Okay. Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. I'm talking to you. Find out more. Head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, December 20th, 2017 from DTNS headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from the beautiful Presidio, where it is very sunny in San Francisco today, I'm Sarah Lane.
From the wind-swept plains of Salt Lake City, I'm Scott Johnson.
And the wind comes sweeping down the plains. Utah. That's why they changed it to Oklahoma. They needed more syllables. Roger Chang here as well. How are you, sir?
I am good as well. No winds, no fire. I'm pretty good.
Knock on wood, cross your fingers, and let's start with a few tech things you should know.
So is Uber a transport service or not? The European Court of Justice ruled that yes, it is a transport service and can be regulated like any other taxi service. The court found that Uber has decisive influence over drivers accepting fares and serves as a gateway for customers who wish to use a driver's service.
On the day Google announced it was removing YouTube's app from the Fire TV, Amazon went and filed trademark requests for Amazon Tube and OpenTube, both described as services that let users share video. Domain name Wire points out Amazon has also registered Alexa OpenTube.com. I apologize to anyone who just heard that and something went weird. Or Amazon, that same word, tube.com, or Amazon OpenTube.com.
At first, I was like, "What happened?" I got it. Everyone's living rooms went crazy.
The A word, the other A word, the longer A word with an L. Safaricom reports that Kenya passed 1 million active 4G subscribers in November. Safaricom's 4G service is available in all 47 counties in Kenya and is by far the largest provider there.
Twitter is rolling out support for two-factor login apps. Users will be able to link Google Authenticator or Authy or Duo Mobile to verify their Twitter logins.
Oh, Lordy. It's about time. Thank you, Twitter. Glad you did that.
But why didn't they earlier, Tom? Not.
Now here are some more top stories. Stop doing that to me.
Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, I swear every article I ever read has his name in it, it seems like. Anyway, says Apple plans to let software developers design a single application that will work with touchscreen, mouse, or trackpad, meaning an app could be submitted for both use on iOS and Mac app stores all at once. Gurman sources said Apple is developing the strategy as part of the next major iOS and Mac OS updates, taking a page out of the old Microsoft idea of we want one thing to run on all platforms, and I don't know, maybe they can do it. I'm always a little skeptical of this, though.
There's a couple of lies here. They're not lies, really. But the Universal app, if you listen to our interview with Joe Keeley in DTNS Labs last month, the Universal app isn't really universal. Joe's like, you kind of have to like make a separate app for the iPad. You just do. If you really want to have an iPad version. So my guess is that that's all this is doing is making it easier to submit to the App Store. It's like, well, you're pretty much going to still need a separate Mac OS version, but you could package it all up together, submit it all as one app, and then it'll be in the App Store under one listing, and it'll adapt automatically on that end, which is good for consumers. And as Gurman points out in his article, they haven't really updated the Mac App Store since 2014. A lot of people complain that it's just not well loved and not everything is in there. So this may be a way that Apple says, let's try to get those iOS developers to want to make Mac versions of their software and bundle them together.
You know, I definitely have some beloved Mac apps. Slack, which we talk to each other in all day, every day, is one of them. Tweetbot is another. A few more. The fact that they are separate apps from the same app, essentially, that I'm running on iOS, doesn't bother me necessarily. It would be cool if it was a little bit more universal, and I, don't have to have that extra step to download it twice. But yeah, Tom, I'm with you. The Mac App Store is something that I don't know how much pressure Apple feels to make it feel as lively as the iOS development world is. It's
I think back in the day, that's their idea. They had that terrible launcher thing, and I'm going to bring up right now to remind myself how bad it is. Up there it is. It looks like a giant iPad. There's all my icons. They want that to look like an iOS screen and as an alternative launcher as opposed to the launch bar that we've always had on Mac OS. All of that stuff felt really forced and kind of weird in the early goings. What I appreciate from any developer is when they cater to the strengths of the platform I'm using it on. And if they're a multi-platform service or piece of software, I like it when they really take advantage of the advantages of a phone or the advantages of a tablet or the advantages of the desktop and don't try to, square peg into round holes, all three, so that they all are exactly the same experience. I just think that's the whole reason we have the different formats, is because each of them have strengths that we need them for certain things. So So I don't know if this goes any further to do that. I'm probably with Tom in that this is just a way to simplify the process.
And juice the Mac App Store so that people actually want to use it, because I don't think anybody really does right now.
Yeah.
Magic Leap is back claiming things but not actually shipping them, but this time with more pictures and a Rolling Stone exclusive. Magic Leap says it will ship the Magic Leap 1 sometime in 2018 along with an SDK. Keep in mind, they've said they've shipped things before and they haven't, but this time they sound really serious about it. The goggles, and they really do look like goggles, have 4 mics, 6 external cameras, and built-in speakers. There's an external computer called the Light Pack that clips to your belt and is allegedly as powerful as an Alienware gaming PC. There will also be a remote control, so you'll get 3 pieces of hardware. Rolling Stone said it handled voice and gesture control with head and eye tracking and mapped virtual environments or virtual objects into the environment without any trouble. They liked it. Rolling Stone also described the field of view as, quote, the size of a VHS tape held in front of you with your arms half extended.
Sounds really slick.
Yeah, so
I'm doing this now, just trying to see.
About right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what that field of view is, it's not that much bigger. HoloLens, is it? Doesn't seem that much bigger, does it? Well, anyway, Tom's going to get an actual tape.
Here, I've got an actual VHS tape.
So are you half extended there?
There, that's more like half extended.
Does that feel substantially larger or any different than the HoloLens?
According to the Rolling Stone guy, it's a little bit bigger than the HoloLens.
Okay. I mean, how did you just sort of like say like, oh, wait, no, not this Windows box. I must have a VHS tape under my desk. And you did. Like, how does that happen?
It just does. Okay.
Every time Tom somehow pulls anything you need out of somewhere
Like,
on the air.
I can't even find like a pen in my house. I'm like, pen and paper? No one does that. It was pretty.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this once it actually ships and there are products that real people can talk about in public. So fingers crossed that it really works.
I will say one final thing. The design of this, if this is their design, and it seems like it's pretty final, it looks pretty sleek and finished and polished. If that's what we end up seeing as far as hardware goes, I do think this is a nice step in the right direction aesthetically. I know that's not the important thing people want from AR or mixed reality yet. We think we're going to be stuck in these big goofy headsets for a while, but this is a leap beyond no pun intended, what Microsoft's doing with HoloLens in terms of the exterior of this thing. So I know that's not the ultimate desire and wish here. It's still kind of goofy and big, but it's at least kind of sci-fi and slick and doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I'll give you that.
Well, moving back to the app development world for a minute, Niantic announced an update to Pokemon Go for iOS later this week that will optimize the game with ARKit, which means Pokemon can be fixed in your view with higher accuracy and truer size ratios. The new mode also comes with a capture bonus called Expert Handler, which is given to you when you can sneak up close to a Pokemon without scaring it away.
The Pokemon will show up about the size of a VHS tape with your arms half extended.
In fact, that's the new Pokemon creature. It's a
no. This is cool. I hope AR Core on Android will allow them to do the same thing for Android, because it really wasn't AR before. It was just a floating Pokemon that was in your field of view, and you could make it go into the sky sometimes without too much trouble. Now it'll actually sit on surfaces. The flying ones will actually fly above, and when you move around, they'll stay where they are, and you'll have to go back. So that's kind of cool. I like it. It's really AR now.
Yeah, it does seem like seem like the natural thing to do, since both platforms are getting some pretty cool AR tech. Who better to take advantage of it than the world's #1 Pokemon catching software?
By the way, this is Eileen's resume tape.
Oh,
that I have here.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I couldn't
roll it. Let's see.
I couldn't find it. If you asked me to find a VHS tape, I'd be hosed. There's nothing here.
I probably have one in a box in a closet somewhere, but I don't have a VCR. Like, I don't know how to play it.
I don't have a VCR within reach. Sorry.
Yeah. Sarah would have to go dig it out. That we know for sure. I'd have to find it.
Yes, there was a VCR. It's got to be down there somewhere.
Tom's amazing human being. Hey, MoviePass announced it has more than 1 million paying users for all of its new movie service is not a moving service. The service dropped its price this summer to $10 a month and almost immediately jumped to 150,000 subscribers from the 20,000 they were sitting at. Cinemark has launched a Movie Pass competitor called Cinemark Movie Club that costs $8.99 a month for one 2D ticket plus $8.99 for additional tickets. Don't actually understand that one, but anyway,
well, it's $9 a month for one ticket, so it's not unlimited like Movie Pass. So it's not really a competitor for Movie Pass.
It's not really at all, especially here, because I know for whatever reason, Utah's tickets, despite a very active sort of movie environment here, we're still around $9 a ticket on normal days and normal seats and 2D seats and that sort of thing. So this just sounds like I bought a ticket, is what this sounds like. So
yeah, it's a discount for here. But again, it's still only a 2D ticket. It's only one a month. So anyway, Movie Pass getting 1 million, like that's enough customers to be able to throw some weight around. Maybe if they can get like a smaller chain like Landmark or somebody to start cooperating, they can start to capitalize on what they want, which is that they can share data with a movie theater chain to say, this is what people are seeing. This is what they like. This is their behavior, and monetize that data, which has kind of been their best bet. They also say they think they can make money because rural people have or Utah, I guess, has cheaper prices. And so they can make it up there as well. But I don't know if that's really going to pay off.
Yeah.
Last year, Apple notified iPhone 6s customers that batteries might degrade more quickly than expected because of a manufacturing issue. Had something to do with the battery being exposed to the air longer than it should have been. Well, Geekbench released testing results showing that the iPhone 6s and iPhone 7 models running iOS 10.2.1 and 11.2 respectively showed a performance degradation. That 6s is tested running 10.2 did not show the same performance degradation. So they're like, there is something going on in iOS 10.2.1 that wasn't happening in 10.2, and it's not the natural degradation of the battery, but it's also not all the iPhones we tested. So it's not a deliberate, slowing down of the phone. What's going on here? There were a lot of speculations, but unusually, Apple told TechCrunch that, in fact, it released a new feature last year for iPhone 6, 6S, and SE that prevents the devices from unexpectedly shutting down in response to peak power demands that the battery can no longer handle. So this usually happens because the battery's getting old. You have a bunch of processes happen at once, and the battery just can't provide the power, and it shuts down. So they're like, we've created a system that slows down the CPU so you don't get those peak processes causing that shutdown situation. Apple says the feature was extended to iPhone 7 and iOS 11.2, and it plans to add support for the feature for other products in the future.
I don't remember. I only had it a year, so I can't really say for sure, but I don't remember my 6S or 7 showing any kind of battery degradation. I don't think a year is enough to probably show that.
Probably not.
But I'm very curious about how this shows itself. Like, does software just get clunky? Does something load slower than it used to? I could see why people would be concerned about that. It does feel a little strange them calling a feature what is essentially a bad deal if you own one of the older phones and your battery is going through a natural or sped up degradation. Some people are laughing at them today, saying it's just like Apple to call basically a bug a feature. I'm not so sure I'd go that far, but it is a little odd, and it makes me worry if I ever held onto my phone for longer than the normal contract. Would I start to see really strange behavior like this without them telling us? Because this isn't something they really announced as a feature. It's not really a presentation style feature. It's a weird little thing you inserted in there later to help with battery issues, and did it quietly without telling anybody. And I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe they more transparent about that kind of stuff. I don't know.
I mean, terminology aside, yeah, it doesn't sound like a feature. Feature is supposed to be something fun and cool and that you want. On the other hand, I want the system to stop my phone from unexpectedly shutting down. So in that sense, this is a system option that is going to save my phone from crashing in the middle of something I want to do. And that is a good thing. I think Extreme Tech and a few other places rightly pointed out first you should tell people that this is being added. Be upfront and say, hey, there's a little CPU management. You might notice your phone works a little bit slower, but the upside is that you won't have as many crashes. And make it an option that you can turn on or off. If you're like, you know what, I don't mind it shutting down every once in a while. I don't want it to slow down the CPU. It'd be nice to have that option as a user.
I'm rocking the 7 Plus currently, and this particular article doesn't talk about the Plus versus the regular 7, but I have experienced quite a few of those kind of intermittent restarts, basically, that don't make any sense. And I wonder how much of this was the case.
Sounds like classic example of what they're trying to mitigate against. Yeah.
Because, when that sort of thing happens, it's like, computers, whatever. They sometimes act wonky, but if there's an explanation, it makes me feel a lot better.
Since you got iOS 11.2, have you noticed it go away? Would be the question.
Well, now that you mention it, yeah,
There you go.
it didn't happen, so I haven't thought about it, right? But it's gotten better.
Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines. You can get it on the Amazon Echo as a flash briefing. Just tell her to do it, and she'll do it. It's also on the Google Home, in the Anchor app, and available as a podcast. Good old-fashioned podcasts that you just put in your podcatcher. You can find the link to subscribe at dailytechheadlines.com. Women's Wear Daily reports that Adidas has cut its digital sports division, which developed its in-house wearable devices. Adidas has been making wearables since 2001. They are not newbies to this game. And most of those included the Me Coach brands. They had some running trackers, heart rate chest straps, even a connected soccer ball. Adidas, however, bought Runtastic in 2015, and reportedly, they're going to shift all their resources to software. So the Adidas app and the Runtastic apps will be the focus. They're just not going to do hardware themselves anymore. Fitbit is slated to release an Adidas-branded version of the Fitbit Ionic in 2018, so they'll be going the Nike route. Nike stopped making its Feel Band a few years ago. Now it partners with Apple on Apple Watch stuff. So, Scott, I know you're kind of a fan of watching the wearables market, and it's curious to me, do you think this is just apparel companies realizing, we're good at making shoes, not so much at making hardware, or is it a bad sign for wearables?
Well, it's interesting. You talk to people kind of anecdotally about wearables, or they'll see your watch and say, how do you like it? And I'll say, oh yeah, it's pretty good. What does it do for you mostly? Well, I mean, if I'm honest, it's fitness stuff and it's notifications. Like, that's really what I've gotten out of my watch. And I was hoping I might get more than that, like, I don't know, innovative apps or other things that maybe we haven't thought of yet, because that's usually what happens with a new platform. You figure out ways of exploiting it in new ways and to get excited about. But I don't know if it's doing anything more than those two things I mentioned for me. And so then the question is, well, what'd you pay for that? And was it worth that? And maybe everybody's doing this wrong. Maybe this should be a much more lower entry cost item that then feels like it's full of features because you didn't pay very much for it. But also there's other signs, like Apple doesn't even show numbers on this stuff. This comes up every time they do their earnings reports. They talk about how, I forget what they call the segment of the market that the watches are thrown into, but it's the exact same grouping as Apple TVs and other stuff.
Yeah, it's essentially the other category, right?
Sure. It's like their accessories category almost, except obviously it's weirder than that, because I would not call an Apple TV an accessory, and I don't think their watch should be one either. But if they were having incredible numbers and blowing everybody's mind, I guarantee they would say how many watches they sold all the time, the way they do with their phones, or iPads or Macs or whatever it is that's doing really well. They would give those numbers. So really, there's no idea across the board who's selling how many. We have some estimated numbers. Shipments hit 222.3 million units by 2021, says the IDC. That's the next best guess as to what's coming next. But last year they didn't quite perform the way the people thought, and then this year they performed a little bit better. So there's kind of numbers all over the place. But as we start to go into new places like Magic Leap as a potential competitor in the future of wearables, so is for that matter, Oculus Rift and everybody else. So they want to get to a place where portability and wearability and battery and all these other things are simple and easy and plug and play and off you go. So we're looking at a future where wearables aren't just something I have on my wrist that mimic what a watch used to do for me. It's going to be things I wear on my ears, or things that are covering my eyes, or things that are part of my clothing. And I don't know where all of that is headed, but as much investment and as much focus as the market has given this thing around my wrist, I'm starting to think that this may be stopgap, and this is really not going to be the long haul.
It sort of seems to me that even though there's no reason that Adidas couldn't make a nice wearable, or have really good stuff in their digital sports division that they're folding. Apparently, it's not so much that. I think that it's a really tough sell to have a company like Adidas. Nike would be in there too. I don't know, Reebok, whatever, like footwear or sportswear. Under Armour, I don't know, any of those brands that you know exactly, they're very synonymous with fitness, but they're old school. It's not, you don't think about Adidas making like some killer app. And it doesn't mean that it's not possible or that the company shouldn't invest time and effort into it if that's what the company wants to do. But I think that the public does not look to the old guard for these new innovations. Fitbit is a really big name in the wearables market. Yes, it was first, but it sort of represents something new, and especially when you're trying to market stuff to people who have very strong feelings about brands and what they mean. If you were to say to me, hey, you want to go buy an Adidas smartwatch down at the Adidas store, I'd be like, well, no, that's the last thing I'm going to do. And I have a good reason for that. It's just it's brand recognition. Really.
Maybe what we're looking at is, this is maybe a stretch, but in the past, what software people would look for is a platform that they could then shine on. So platforms for Microsoft ended up being PC, and forgetting about Windows for a minute. For Office to succeed, they need a good platform. For the billions of dollars that are pushed through Google Play and the iOS App Store every year, you need the platforms. You don't need a million platforms. You need a couple of good, solid platforms that are well regarded and lots of people have it, and you're good to go. Maybe this is the same thing, and maybe Apple really wants to be that platform. But so far, this just feels like an extension of what I'm using, my phone for. Andrew Wear, people would tell me the same with their Android phones. Kind of a similar experience. So it's not really a platform for whatever a wearable's good at. And until we figure out what a wearable is going to be really, truly good at, the killer app of a wearable, and we have to accept the fact that maybe that's just fitness tracking. I don't know, but whatever that ends up being, the world of software developers and shoemakers, their interests are, where are the platforms, and then we'll make stuff for those platforms. I don't think they all want to have their own trackers.
I think, Sarah, you're onto something. I know you phrased it as you don't look to Adidas to make the killer app. And some people will take you literally and pick on that because Nike has a great app and Nike's app's really popular. But I think what you were getting at is you don't see them as the people who are like, the reason you'll need a fitness tracker is because Adidas or Reebok makes this amazing piece of hardware that is the killer usage case for this. And I think that's right for the same reason that you don't look to Spotify to make phones, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we used to. Apple used to make the iPod. That was the thing that played the music, and iTunes ran on it. But maybe the issue is wearables really are useful for more than just one thing. Even the fitness trackers, they have time, they have notifications, they have email. They're platforms like you're talking about, Scott. And so you need a company that's good at making the platform, because it has to be good at, even if it's a fitness tracker, way more than just that one fitness app that you as the apparel maker want to be associated with. And so if somebody's like, yeah, this fitness tracker is okay, but it's, really sucky at notifications, or it doesn't work with a bunch of my other services, then it's probably going to fail. And that makes me think that maybe wearables are going to be good at a bunch of other things. And so you need hardware makers that are good at making the hardware to open them up to that.
Yeah. And we are, like you said, closing out this year, we're close to 113.2 million units. That is no small group of people who are into a thing. I just don't know where it goes from here. Like, it feels a little capped out in terms of capability. And I think it's starting to be, I am in no rush to say, well, whatever Series 4 of the Apple Watch is, I'm getting that. I can't wait. Because right now I'm just like, well, notifications and fitness, and I don't know what else I need it for. Like, I would be more inclined to say, what's Fitbit doing for under $100 now, or something like that. So I don't know. It's a weird market, and I thought it'd be fun for us to throw it around.
Hey, if you've got some ideas beyond the obvious beyond notifications and fitness tracking and health tracking, send them to us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com, or you can even submit them on our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Post an ID in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. In fact, people have been doing just that, sending us ideas. What's in the mailbag, Sarah?
We got an email from Jim who says, I work for a communication company in Maine. It's not Fairpoint. The PUC in Maine, that's the Public Utilities Commission, will decide soon on new rules for pole attachments. It's looking like CLECs will be able to attach on bottom position, much to Fairpoint's chagrin, or the field side of the pole, which they're not allowed to do right now. These rules will allow us to roll out fiber faster and cheaper than before. And surprisingly, the area I live in has more fiber to the home than Connecticut, where I worked for AT&T and then Frontier.
Oh, interesting. I like getting that on-the-ground report from Maine, too. That's really cool.
Maine being so far from California, I'm always like, what's happening over there?
Yeah, it's almost like it's in France.
Also, I love how micro that is. Like bottom of the pole, top of the pole.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
Plus, it's a great example of, what the government should be doing, in my opinion, is make it easier for people to roll out fiber, and you'll get more choices. And so it's a great case of that too. Thank you, Jim. Real quickly, the Geeky Trucker wrote, I can't believe no one mentioned that Shell Oil just bought an electric charging company and plans on installing fast chargers starting in Europe. And he sent a link to a CNN Money article about this as well. I can believe it because I didn't know this happened. I missed this one. So thank you, Geeky Trucker. CNN October 12th reported that Royal Dutch Shell acquired New Motion, one of Europe's largest electric vehicle charging providers, and they plan on converting parking spots into electric charging stations, or I guess that's what New Motion does. So,
and I think in response to us, where we had read another email the other day, maybe it was even yesterday, where somebody pointed out, hey, if the gas companies were smart, they'd start putting electric charging stations at all the gas stations because we're all there anyway, and people keep buying electric cars. But considering that his name is the Geeky Trucker, maybe he's got his finger on the pulse of this slightly more than us. So. Yeah. Thank you.
Geeky Trucker, you should believe that we didn't mention it because you're like up on this stuff. That's we rely on you guys to be the ears to the ground on this. So appreciate that.
Hive Mind.
Hive Mind, exactly.
Speaking of the Hive Mind, Scott Johnston is part of our Hive every Wednesday. Thanks for being here as always, Scott, and let folks know what's new with you.
Well, all right then. Thanks for having me. As always, I don't have a ton of stuff planned for the network or anything before Christmas. Things are going to slow down just a little bit. We only have 5 days till the big holiday, but there's a lot of random streaming happening. Of course, a regular schedule of shows and all that sort of stuff happening in and around the network, including the show I do with Tom on weekends called Current Geek. And this weekend, by not only popular demand and because it's the next on our list, Tom and I are going to be watching Citizen Kane for one of our special movie episodes, a classic film that I've never seen. Tom has, because Tom's way more cultured than me. And we're going to finally see what the hubbub is about that movie all these decades later. So check that out this Friday. We'll do it live right here at Frog Pants TV. And you can find that at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And I look forward to seeing you all there.
Rosebud.
Scott's like, I haven't seen it. It means nothing.
I know. I heard you too. Hey, thanks to everybody who supports us. There's all kinds of ways to support us. And if you need a hoodie or a coffee mug or something, got a few things in our store. And you ought to go check them out because these coffee mugs, they're pretty nice. I use mine every day. So go check it out, dailytechnewsshow.com/store. And of course, huge thanks to the patrons who make it possible for us to continue the show every day and have all of our folks here together to chat over the tech news with you at patreon.com/DTNS.
Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. Your choice, whatever. Love to have you watch, though. And our website, of course, is dailytechnewsshow.com.
Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
30 minutes, 5 seconds
Yeah.
on the dot.
You know, it's so funny because I sometimes, depending on what we're talking about, I'm not watching the clock that closely. But I know at certain points in the show where I'm like, oh, we're going to be over, And sometimes it's just like, we just work it out. And then we're not, Like sometimes I'm like, it's 1:55. There's just no way. It can't be done.
It's impossible.
I think Tom's better at this than anyone I know. I don't know anybody who keeps pacing on shows better.
TV.
Hey, Scott.
A lot of practice. All
right. Let's get a title on the nose. We have Amazon gets all the tubes. Tom can produce anything by magic. Scott apologizes for using a word. Amazon tube. Pardon me. Magic leap of no faith in a real product. Movie past 1 million subscribers. Apple's planned obsolescence. Adidas wearables are Audion. GTS Hive Minds. Universal isn't quite so universal. Coding
Adidas wearables are Audi done, I think is what what Mojam was going for there.
Tom still rolls with the VCR. Magic leaps beyond HoloLens. Tom magically leads back to the VHS. Tom relies on Eileen's resume. Unwearable suffering. Wear on wearables. Adidas wears out its wearables. What has your wearable done for you? Maine is almost in France. What's
out wearables?
Impressive ignorance of geography.
I mean, you could use that argument, Tom.
So I thought I'd show off my VHS collection. Wow, we decide on a title.
You're not a collector. You're just a dabbler.
This one is Screensavers, July 31st, 2001, Cybercrime, August 28th, 2001, and Tech Live 8 to 9 a.m., August 23rd, 2001.
Okay. Are these appearances that you made or segments that you particularly had a part of? Because they're not all the same day. Obviously.
I'm going to guess these are segments I was on.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't know why I would have that weird collection. But then I have the Computer Shopper Pilot.
9 a.m. drive on Tech Live, Tom. Computer Shopper?
Pilot.
I remember Computer Shopper.
This is the pilot episode right here.
I remember they were building that set when I walked in for my intern interview.
What are we going to call this show?
So
I kind of liked the
Unbearable wearables.
Unbearable wearables.
That's kind of fun.
I can go with that.
No,
Right.
just team. You don't have to use it. I was just.
I liked what has your wearable done for you.
That was the one right before Maine is practically France, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked that one too.
Which one?
What has your wearable done for you?
What has your wearable done for you? What has your wearable done for you lately?
I don't have any wearables.
Oh my gosh, that's a Ford commercial. See? Brand recognition. Remember that? Those commercials?
Yeah. Have you driven Ford lately?
Ford lately. Like,
and then they did.
We all heard that like 20 years ago. It's still up here.
Then it's for what a feeling, Toyota. I remember at Revision 3, all the younger folks didn't know what that commercial was all about, where they all jump in the air at the end of the Toyota commercial.
Oh yeah,
Toyota.
That's so funny. Toyota.
Have you driven a Toyota, Honda?
Oh, there's got to be more.
A Honda was we make it simple.
Really?
Honda, because like their cars were like econo boxes, but they were supposed to be very straightforward, no nonsense, frugal commuting, and people totally latched on.
Kawasaki, let the good times roll.
Back when Honda started selling motorcycles in the U.S., they went with a campaign that said "Nice people ride Hondas" to kind of counteract the whole image that only ruffians and rogues rode motorcycle.
Corolla from Toyota.
I don't remember that one.
Well, I do remember. I don't remember there being much of a jingle. You can find it on the internet, though, that the best car commercial ever was for the El Camino. When the El Camino was first introduced, I was very young, but I remember that it was a man and a woman, and she goes, "It's a car," and he goes, "It's a truck," and they both say, "It's an El Camino," together because it's
Yeah, they had a hard time
It's
selling.
Happy. Aww.
That car sold really well when it was first introduced back in like the 50s or 60s, and then like as people kind of got a little, had a broader choice of cars from foreign automakers, they're like, well, do I really want to go in something that looks like someone carved out the back of a station wagon? Because that's what it was. It was their station wagon. They carved out the.
We call the Toyota Corolla a low-priced car. We mean it. Right on down the line.
Corolla from Toyota.
I don't even remember that.
That's a good one.
That is good. Yeah, who wouldn't want a Corolla?
No.
Song like
So
that.
happy. You can check the shape and the statistics.
Uh,
I still remember the old AMC ads.
I have the VHS tape here of the E.T. wedding. That'd be Eileen Tom wedding.
Not when E.T. got married.
No, definitely not.
Different wedding. Who was invited to that even?
Who knew?
You have multiple VHS tapes near you?
These are all Brilliant Television episodes on VHS.
Oh, yes. I remember you had a showing one time and we ate brie and...
Yes, and played these
cheese.
very tapes. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a bunch of beta tapes that I was lugging around. Some of them from Tech TV. Some of them
Screensavers
from-
October 5th.
I got a
But-
tub of old... Yeah.
I think I got in one of my many apartment moves. I was just like, screw it, I'll never play these. And, they
I
went-
have
they went to
one of those big plastic totes of DVC Pro tapes
Yeah,
from Tech TV.
I got a few.
Oh,
of those,
yeah.
yeah. Like
Right
where
before-
am I gonna play them?
I think 2 years ago I rented out a DVC Pro deck and I tried to dig as much of it as I could.
Hmm.
I think they live
Yeah,
on YouTube.
that was
now.
always like I was gonna do it, save it for a rainy day project, and eventually I realized
I just wanted see the one episode I'm missing is the one I wanted is the one where I had Rick Dyer, the guy who created Dragon's Lair,
Mm-hmm.
because I had him on as a guest, and I had Gary Goldman and Don Bluth on, and it was great because Don Bluth drew like a little mouse on the back of the set, and I told one of the guys like, before you break all this stuff down and send it to LA, I want the one with the mouse on it, and they said, yeah, sure, nothing.
Hey, Don Bluth, the Utah connection, who was born here. He's awesome.
Did he?
I'm gonna say goodbye, guys, because I lost a little time before the show.
Yeah, no worries.
So, but yeah, I'll be online. And at 7 p.m. I'll be asleep, but I'll be back here tomorrow.
Have a good night's sleep. See you tomorrow morning.
Night, everyone. See you later.
What was Don Bluth's last cartoon? Was it Titan AE? Was that it?
It may have been his last directed one. I'm not sure. He still runs a animation studio in Ireland. And I don't know what they're doing. There was a Kickstarter for a while to bring back Dragon's Lair. I don't know what happened to that.
I
It
know
was
when
gonna
they
be a
tried to
series.
bring it back as a 3D game, that kind of sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I'm not sure he was involved in that so much, but this new thing was like an animated series, or maybe it was a film they were going to base on it.
I mean,
That would have been all.
I have the DVD of that game somewhere. That and Space Ace.
Oh, I love Space Ace, man. Space Ace.
I remember it was really cool to see a cartoon that you could quote unquote play.
Yeah. Yeah, it was neat. My only complaint back then was it was always 50 cents to play and no other games were that expensive. Now it seems kind of dumb.
I remember
Now
that
everything's
too.
a buck.
Used to love it, though.
Galaga $1. I don't want to play Galaga for $1.
For me growing up, though, he was like local hero because he came from here, and I thought, oh, I want to be like Don Bluth one day.
Someday,
If
I
wanna-
play
in
my
fact-
cards right.
you
I
can
wanna
be
work-
famous and then fade into obscurity.
It's like I want to work at Disney, and then I want to quit in a huff and do my own thing and make more money there. And like I had all these plans to follow Don Bluth's footsteps.
You were planning to quit in a huff.
Well, we all thought that was super piratey and cool.
Yeah. No, of
Wait,
course.
What was his first movie that he did outside of Disney?
Oh,
Wasn't All
God.
Dogs Gotta Heaven, was it?
No, that was later. And it wasn't Land Before Time, or not Land Before Time.
Fern Gully.
It wasn't Fern Gully. Crap. It may have actually been. It may have been the games. That may have been the foray. Because then you had that one about the mouse.
Fievel?
The Fievel mouse.
American Tail?
Yeah. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I feel like I should know that. I don't know that.
You know, the great thing, so Silverblade is commenting in the chat room that Dragon's Lair was notorious for being impossibly hard, which is why I love the DVD edition, because you can just watch it all the way through without having to play it.
Yeah, they have like a watch this version of that on the DVD.
Laserdisc games I thought were going to be the next cool thing. You could play like Firefox and Cobra Command. It was like you're right in the middle of it, and then you realize it's just basically a game on rails.
Yeah,
you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, it was quick time action, which is still a thing, but you had to make a choice: go left, go right. If you didn't know which one, you'd die. If you didn't do it fast enough, you'd die. But if you knew the right place and the timing, you just won every time.
Well, the thing is, you know, GPUs could obviously generate animated cell quality resolution graphics. It wouldn't be that hard to like make a game that feels like a 2D animation, but you can literally run over the place.
Especially today. I mean, those South Park games, you'd swear you were playing South Park. Like,
I mean, South Park in itself is kind of weird because it was all like originally stop motion cutouts, and then they moved to
they used Flash for a while. Now they use Nick. What does South Park use? We figured out for animation. What's that stuff? That software? Yeah, Toon Boom. Yeah, that's what everybody.
That's it. Yeah,
that's the hot thing now. Toon Boom or Bob's Burgers was started in Flash, moved to Toon Boom. Rick and Morty. That's the other one. Yeah, Rick and Morty uses Toon Boom.
Oh yeah, you talked about all this stuff on that special.
Yeah.
I remember.
Toon Boom is cool.
It is cool. There are days I think I should play with it, but then there are days I realize I don't have time for anything.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in moving into animation?
Not necessarily moving into it, but I've always loved it. I've always wanted to do more of it.
I remember taking an animation course for desktop. It was called desktop computer animation. It was really fun, but I remember how much work it was because I was popping between Animation Studio for PC. I'm trying to remember who made it, and then the Amiga version of it.
Yeah, Amiga had stuff. That's true. I've always, I mean, I used to, when I was a kid, I'd go to garage sales and I'd find big fat novels, like big paperbacks, like Moby Dick and stuff, and I'd take them home. And in the margins, I would make a full story, animated story of some sort. Pretty nice. I was so into flip books and like the old way of doing that. I used to take classes that were always animation focused. It's actually a little weird. I didn't end up doing it, but
Amazon's ending its MP3 locker.
Oh no!
Oh,
Amazon Music Storage. No, I don't know how many people are even using it anymore. I know I have some MP3s in there, but I'd forgotten about it till I saw this story.
Yeah. I mean, if they let me store other stuff in there, I'd be using it all the time. But
yeah,
like a data locker.
Yeah, but it was just MP3s.
Flipbooks. I remember Flipbooks were
that's what happens to Amazon. They give you 4 new YouTube sounding domain names and they take away your MP3 locker.
I think they registered all that stuff just to tweak Google because I just can't see them starting something called Amazon Tube for real, and the trouble that would invite.
They should buy RedTube just to piss them off.
Oh geez. All right. On that note, not because of that, not at all. But it's time. It's time to go. So thank you all for joining us, and
we'll see you tomorrow.
Mañana.